The false ego of identifying one's body as oneself and of claiming things possessed in relationship with this body is called Maya. In Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, the Lord says, I am sitting in everyone's heart, and from me comes everyone's remembrance and forgetfulness. Devhuti has stated that false identification of the body with the self and attachment for possessions in relation to the body are also under the direction of the Lord. Does this mean that the Lord discriminates by engaging one in his devotional service and another in sense gratification? If that were true, it would be an incongruity on the part of the Supreme Lord. That's not the actual fact. As soon as the living entity forgets his real constitutional position of eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord and wants instead to enjoy himself by sense gratification, he is captured by Maya. This capture by Maya is the consciousness of false identification with the body and attachment for the possessions of the body. These are the activities of Maya, and since Maya is also an agent of the Lord, it is indirectly the action of the Lord. The Lord is merciful. If anyone wants to forget Him and enjoy this material world, He gives him full facility, not directly but through the agency of His material potency. Therefore, since the material potency is the Lord's energy, indirectly it is the Lord who gives the facility to forget Him. Devhuti therefore said, my engagement in sense gratification was also due to you. Now kindly get me free from this entanglement. By the grace of the Lord, one is allowed to enjoy this material world, but when one is disgusted with material enjoyment and is frustrated, and when sincerely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, then the Lord is so kind that He frees one from entanglement. Krishna says therefore in the Gita, first of all surrender, and then I will take charge of you and free you from all the reactions of sinful activities. Sinful activities are those activities performed in forgetfulness of our relationship with the Lord. In this material world, activities for material enjoyment which are considered to be pious are also sinful. For example, one sometimes gives something in charity to a needy person with a view to getting back the money 4 times increased. Giving with the purpose of gaining something is called charity in the mode of passion. Everything done here is done in the modes of material nature, and therefore all activities but service to the Supreme Lord are sinful. Because of sinful activities, we become attracted by the illusion of material attachment, and we think, I am this body. I think of the body as myself and of bodily possessions as mine. Devhuti requested Lord Kapila to free her from this entanglement of false identification and false possession. So these are the words spoken by Devhuti to Lord Kapila Dev. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your Maya and have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. So, these words represent our state or the state of a conditioned soul. Due to feeling of false ego, all of us have false ego to deal with. We have been engaged by Lord's Maya and have identified with the body and consequent bodily relations. And this false ego is very thick covering on the soul. This wrong identification with the body and bodily relations. And this is the root cause of all our suffering. Some time back we saw that demonstration where 2 people are holding the hands and they are told not to leave the hands under any circumstances. If you push one person, the other person also gets pushed because of holding the hand tightly. So likewise, because we have identified with the body and bodily relations very, very thickly because of false ego, anything which happens to the body is felt by us, the soul. Actually, the soul is completely aloof from the body, and the quality of the soul is, it is eternal, it's full of knowledge. Being part of Krishna may not be equal in quantity, and blissful. People are struggling to experience happiness and bliss in this world, and that's predominantly because of the false ego, where anything which is happening to the body or bodily relations or bodily possessions, it's impacting the soul. Body, as we all know, is undergoing transformation. It grows, stays for some time, produces byproducts, declines, decays, and eventually dies. And so is the relationships with all the things connected with our body. They are also undergoing transformation. We form new relationships and existing relationships cease to exist. So everything is in a flux. Everything is changing. And some changes are pleasing, creates momentary happiness. The soul experiences momentary happiness, material happiness. And most of the changes are not very palatable for the soul to experience. Death, diseases, we becoming old, our near and dear ones, some separation. So the soul is experiencing all that, although it need not. It has its own identity. In Bhagavatam there's another verse where it says, the moon in the sky, if you see, it's not flickering. It's steady. But the reflection of the moon in the water, if you see, it is flickering. That's not because the moon is flickering, because there's a wave in the water, and the reflection of the moon on the water, because of the waves, appears to be flickering. So sometimes people ask, if we are the soul, then why are we experiencing distress? Who is experiencing distress, the body or the soul? It's exactly that the moon. Soul does not have to experience all this ups and downs, happiness and distress. But because of identification with the body due to false ego, all this flickering, all this ups and downs, happiness and distress, pleasure and pain, fame and infamy is experienced by the soul. So this path of devotional service, this bhakti yoga, what we are practicing, is a process whereby we can free ourselves from this false ego. That is the meaning of purification. And in another class we heard that just like two things are joined, for example in this book, this cover of the book, hardboard, is joined to the book. Actually, they are two separate things. When the book is made, the pages are bound together, and then this hardcover is pasted. So if actually we want to separate the pages, we require some energy, some force. If you want to remove the cover, if you just simply desire to remove, it won't remove because it is bound. All the pages are stitched together. And if we want to segregate, if that's an assignment that we have to separate all the pages, we require some force, some energy. If we can quantify that force, even though it is little energy, you may tear the pages or you may separate it out, it requires some energy. So likewise, this Likewise, the soul which is identified with the body because of false ego, if we were to separate, then we require some energy. And that energy comes from, especially in this age of Kali, it is said, Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama eva kevalam. People are trying different means, different methods to be happy. A lot of people have identified that because of attachment, because of desires, we are suffering. And people have also, over the years, prescribed various solutions. How we can be happy, how we can purify the desires, how we can get rid of ego, jealousy, pride, anger. Marketplace is full of such books. But this false ego is so thick, so just like Devati here is praying to the Lord, it's not possible for the conditioned soul on its own, through his mind, through his intelligence, through his understanding, free himself from the false ego. No mental jugglery, no mental psyching up, I am not the body, can free one from this false ego. That's why Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Dhuratya. Somebody was asking me, is there any technique, especially when we deal with Maya, opposite sex? The answer is actually there is no technique. Because when the Maya attacks, the first thing is we'll forget the technique. And there are many traps, gross and subtle. Never ever we can be confident of a technique saying that this technique is applicable, now it's working. Because if it works with situation A, you will confront situation B, which is much more subtler, much more finer, and technique A will not work. Our idea is to get out of Maya without surrender to Krishna. Because that's what we have come for. We want solution minus Krishna. We want happiness minus Krishna. We want peace minus Krishna. And the whole process is, we will try different things, this way, that way, this way, that way. Bahunan janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyante. After many years of struggle, one will come to a situation, Krishna, you only can free me. There is no alternative. So then finally, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan, a person who is sufficiently knowledgeable, who is sufficiently experienced, who has sufficiently tried this way, that way, Mam Prapadyante, Vasudevam Sarvamiti, that Krishna, you are the only one who can free me. Samahatma Durlabha, that Atma who has come to this understanding, this realization is very rare. That's why Krishna says, Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschitadati Siddhaye. There are many people who are trying to get freed of false ego, but minus Krishna. They have faith in their endeavors, minus Krishna. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvata. And out of those who have perfected their lives, so-called by yogic methods of different kinds of processes, one will actually come to the understanding that Krishna, you are the Samam Bhomam, you are the actual absolute truth. So Devahuti here is very fortunate that she has understood this and says that I am engaged by your Maya. So Prabhupada in the purport mentions that the Lord is there in everyone's heart, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sanivishto. Even forgetfulness of Lord, attachment to the body and bodily relation actually also comes from the Lord. It is little perplexing to understand. On one side, the Lord is said to be Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, He is a well-wisher. And on the other side, it is also said that the forgetfulness also is coming from the Lord. Mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Apohanam means forgetfulness. This identification with the body and bodily relation is also coming from the Lord. Detachment from the body and bodily relation is also coming from the Lord. That's why devotee is pleading or praying to Kapila Dev for giving that detachment. So the controlling point actually is the Lord. Forgetfulness also comes from Him, remembrance also comes from Him. Attachment also comes from Him, detachment also comes from Him. So the question here is, does this mean that the Lord discriminates? Someone He is giving attachment to the body and bodily relationship because of which he is suffering, and someone He is blessing with detachment, freedom from false ego because of which he is blissful? Does this mean that the Lord discriminates by engaging one in His devotional service and another in sense gratification? If that were true, it would be incongruity on the part of Supreme Lord, but that is not the actual fact. So what is the reason why somebody is engaged in devotional service with thick false ego and somebody is apparently free from false ego, engaged in the service of the Lord? The answer is the way we have exercised or exercising our free will. As soon as the living entity forgets his real constitutional position of eternal servitorship of the Lord and wants to enjoy himself by sense gratification, Krishna bhuliya jiva bhoga vancha kare nikatastataya mara jhapatiya dhare. So the Lord is very merciful. Actually, when we want to enjoy Krishna bhuliya jiva bhoga vancha kare nikatastha maya tare jhapatiya dhare, then the Lord gives him facility to enjoy. Because he wants to enjoy. Bhoga vancha kare, to facilitate that enjoyment through another energy of the Lord, Maya, which is agent of the Lord, covers the real consciousness. The capture by Maya is the consciousness of false identification with the body and bodily attachment and attachment for the possessions of the body. These are the activities of Maya. And since Maya is also an agent of the Lord, it is indirectly the action of the Lord. So it is indirectly the action of the Lord. And Krishna says, Mama Maya Duratteya. It's very, very difficult to surmount. Yesterday somebody sent us a video on WhatsApp. Srila Prabhupada is asked, some devotees are asking, this is in early days, Srila Prabhupada, we have done sinful activities for many, many lifetimes. We are so impure, we have false ego, basically sum and substance is, how many lifetimes will it take for us to purify? Way devotee is praying and the way we are discussing now, false ego is very thick, and because of, we all have enjoying tendency. So where is the hope for us? How many lifetimes will it take? Suddenly we see something, immediately enjoying tendency crops up. So Prabhupada says, 1 minute. Then in one sense he says, have you not read Gita? What does Krishna say in the Gita? Mam eva prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. And then he says, Ma sucha, surrender unto me. Mam ekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshesham ma sucha. So from Krishna's point of view, for us, for him to purify us of the false ego, like Krishna is the controlling point, for him to free us from the false ego, to give us detachment, he is ready. It takes no time for him. In a moment He can bestow us with that freedom. In a moment He can free us from the false ego. Sometimes we think that, so the problem is, it is our desires, deep-rooted desires to enjoy minus Krishna. Hope that I will be able to enjoy minus Krishna. And we are not very willing to give up that hope. We are not willing to give up that desire. That's why Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. We have so many so-called hopes, so many plans to be happy, to be enjoy. And Krishna is saying, Parityajya, give up. But we are not willing to give up. Grossly we may give up, but subtly still we have desire to be happy minus Krishna. So here, as we all know, one of the qualities of the Lord is He is all powerful. He is all renounced, unlimited strength, unlimited fame, unlimited renunciation. So detachment, freedom from false ego, for us, it's not very difficult from the Lord's perspective. In a moment He can purify us. But are we ready to surrender to the Lord? So therefore, we have to follow a process. We are conditioned soul. Even the hope for enjoyment, the desires won't suddenly vanish. Anartha nivritti takes time. Bhajan kriya, anartha nivritti, tato asakti, nishtha, ruchi, all that takes time. So as I mentioned, we require some energy, some strength, even to remove this binding. So that strength in Kali Yuga is coming from the chanting of the holy names. But unfortunately, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays, Durdaivam idrisham nanuraga. I have no attachment, I have no taste for chanting. The medicine is there, but we have no inclination to take the medicine. So there is one very nice article. Many times when we are chanting, our minds are wandering, all kinds of thoughts are coming. Sometimes the chanting is mechanical. Sometimes we wonder, I am chanting for so many years, nothing is happening. Sometimes it can be very uninspiring to see that I have so many anarthas, so much lusty thoughts are there, and in spite of I trying my best, still I am getting defeated again and again. So this is a very nice article which says that your mind is wandering all over the universe when you chant. Otherwise, many times it doesn't wander. Only during chanting time it wanders more. All over the universe. Chant anyway. Your mind is wandering to the past and future when you chant. Chant anyway. You're not able to concentrate on Krishna's name while you chant. Chant anyway. You have no taste for chanting. Chant anyway. Because initially, just like Prabhupada gives example, jaundice patient, for him sugar candy is very bitter because he's a diseased state. So the holy name also is very bitter for a conditioned soul. There's no taste, it's mechanical. So chant anyway. Medicine may not be very pleasing, but we have to take the medicine. You have lusty desires, chant anyway. You are making offenses while chanting, chant anyway. You are not praying to Krishna to help you chant better, chant anyway. You often chant late at night, chant anyway. So basically it describes, our present state. On one side, theoretically we understand chanting is very powerful, it's a Yuga Dharma. Lord has descended in the form of holy name. Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. Lord has invested all his energies, potencies in the holy name. But unfortunately we have no taste, we have no desire. So sadhana bhakti means whether we like it or we don't like it, whether we have taste or we don't have taste, it's pleasing to the mind or not pleasing to the mind, we feel like doing it, we don't feel like doing it, do it. So why should you chant despite all the above obstacles? What should be the motivation? There is no vow like chanting the holy names, no knowledge superior to it, no meditation which comes anywhere near it, and it gives the highest result. To some extent, I have also analyzed there are many meditation methods which can give a person peace of mind. There are many things which you can do. Apparently, you will feel happy. Just like example is given, if a glass of water, if it is filled with glass of water, if you put mud into it and mix it, we do this experiment many times in one of our sessions. So if you have mud in the water and you stir it with the spoon, the mud gets completely mixed with the water becomes muddy. That is our present state of mind, with all kinds of Kam, Krodh, Mada, Moha, all this impurities. So we generally ask the participants if we want to make the mind pure, because with all the impurities, there's no possibility of being happy. Even karmis have figured out, unless we have positive thoughts, good thoughts, we'll not be happy. Unless we are grateful, we'll not be happy. So basically, pure water, which means pure mind. So we ask what to do to make the mind pure. So a lot of people say, keep the glass still. And if actually keep the glass still for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you can physically see all the dust which is there in the water settling down. And in 5 minutes you can see that bottom part of the glass has become little more dark and the top water is becoming little more purer. So a lot of meditation techniques are there which people are now these days, because all minds are agitated. So some sober people, they want to calm their minds. There are retreats where people go and practice mauna, silence, for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. They're not allowed to speak to anyone. So as a result, all the impurities, all the disturbances slowly start settling down. And a person actually starts experiencing clarity of thought, peace of mind, freedom from anxieties. And nowhere Krishna is in picture. Krishna is completely out of picture, and you can experience. But point to, although there is a momentary experience of peace and happiness, but the dust is still there. Dirt is still there. It's settled down. False ego is still there. I am the body is still there. Bodily relation attachment is still there. In fact, false ego increases more. I am the body. I am a peaceful man. So we give a demonstration. If you put a spoon and stir it again the dust is back to this. Dust has not gone out. It's still there. It's settled down. The water is apparently pure on the top. So, if we want freedom from false ego by mental gymnastics, it will not help. The Lord's holy name, when we chant, when we inundate our consciousness with the Lord's holy name, it's like putting fresh water inside the glass. So finally we conclude this saying that, how do we make the water pure? If we keep it undisturbed, the dust will settle down, but it's still there. If you want to make water pure, you have to add fresh water. And all the dirty water flows out, and finally the glass is left with pure water. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. When we hear Bhagavatam, chant the holy names, when we hear all this punya shravana kirtana, hridantastu abhadrani, all the dirty things which is there in the heart, all misconceptions, all wrong identifications, all attachments, vidunoti surutsatam, all that gets completely destroyed. So conditioned soul does not want to chant, but that's the process. When we chant, when we hear Bhagavatam, when we hear Punya Shravana Kirtana, hear Krishna Katha, that actually has the potency, has the power to go inside our ears and dispel all darkness, all illusion, all misgivings, drive away Maya from our lives. No penance is equal to it, and nothing is as potent or powerful as the holy name. Chanting is the greatest act of piety and the supreme refuge. Even the words of the Vedas do not possess sufficient power to describe its magnitude. Chanting is the highest path to liberation, peace, and eternal life. It's the pinnacle of devotion, the heart's joyous proclivity and attraction, and the best form of remembrance of the Supreme Lord. The holy name has appeared solely for the benefit of the living entity as their Lord and Master, the supreme worshipful object and their spiritual guide and mentor. Whoever continuously chants Lord Krishna's holy name, even in his sleep, can easily realize that the name is a direct manifestation of Krishna himself, in spite of influences of Kali Yuga. This is from Sharanagati, composed by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, on the glories of the holy name. So, every one of us have false ego, every one of us have attachments. Because of these false ego and attachments, we are suffering. Freedom from all this suffering and to achieve that bliss what we are hankering for necessitates that we have to get rid of the false ego, which devotee here is praying to Lord Kapila. And how do we get freed from false ego? By taking shelter of the Lord, by pleading to the Lord, by getting strength from the Lord. Jnana, Bala, Kriya. And when we chant the holy names of the Lord, we get that strength. Right now we don't have taste for the holy name. It is very monotonous, mechanical. But Acharyas are saying, chant anyway. Take the medicine anyway. It's bitter, take it anyway. And a day will come when we'll get cured and we'll start relishing the Lord's holy name. And a day will come when we get freed from all this false ego, all this anarthas, all this misgivings. And then, as a soul standing in its true glory, will experience a real Sat, Chit and Ananda. Then the bliss what we'll be experiencing, it says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, will be feel free from all kinds of hankering, lamentation. For today, as of today, it's all idealistic for us. But Krishna is saying that state is possible. Prasannatma, completely joyful. There is no hankering, there is no lamentation. So we have a wonderful process. If we follow this, the goal what we can achieve, the state of consciousness what we can achieve is something very glorious. And that should motivate us to follow the process sincerely and take this medicine wholeheartedly. Stop your Granth Raj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.